What's going on, guys? TB or T-Benz here, and today I'm going to be looking at one of the most criminally underrated duos in the franchise, that being Ginkaku and Ginkaku, and why they are way stronger than you believe. And this became very evident to me after my tag team videos. I'm gonna leave that in the description if you want to go see that. That not too many people understand that this duo at their peak are absolute monsters and more than likely stronger than your favorite character. So today I'll be going into depth on how powerful they truly are, and by the end of the video I guarantee I'll change your mind on the duo. So with that being said, make sure to like and subscribe if you're new here, and let's get into the video. Bada boom. So starting off, we should already have an idea of how strong these characters are based on the Raikage's reaction on their arrival. The Raikage's hearing about all these Edo fighters that are brought to the fight, and even the third Raikage, his father, just more so upsets him more than anything else. However, following the fact, after hearing that the Gold and Silver brothers were brought back, he insists that he actually must join the battlefield, which should just give a little bit of perspective to how strong they are, that he feels that he needs to join the battlefield for them, but not the third Raikage. It should give us a bit of an idea to like look at that. And you might say he just feels he needs to join the battlefield in general, but we actually do know, following the fact that the Raikage is still on Ginkaku and Ginkaku, the duo prominently giving him anxiety and making him walk around the room and like pace around. Even the Tsunade kind of remarks like, "I never thought I'd see you like this. You need to calm down." So there is a bit of like a threat difference in terms of like the third Raikage compared to this duo. We also see from the volume 56 back when it talks about Team Asuma reunited, it discusses that that company is facing enemies and weapons more fearsome than they ever could have imagined, somewhat implying that the duo would be above anything they had seen in the shinobi world before or anybody they had faced. Moving past their introduction though, the Gold and Silver brothers are renowned for their ability to use the Six Paths ninja tools, with the duo being brought back with 4 of the 5 ninja tools, and they're actually nerfed. Aside from the Edo Tensei nerf, they are even nerfed by their conventional standards, as they do not have the Amber Purification Jar. And the reason this matters is, aside from this limiting the duo to using like the ninja tools to their full potential, it is easily the strongest of the Six Paths ninja tools. All this ninja tool requires is the target's name and their response to their name, and they instantly get sealed. And this should kind of set a bit of a status quo on who Ginkaku and Ginkaku can seal, as it's used to seal the 8 tails previously. They have 4 out of 5 Six Paths ninja tools, meaning they're nerfed compared to their complete power. How do the ninja tools work? I guess I'll talk about this. The golden rope squeezes the spirit word out of the shinobi. The sword severs and curses that spirit word. The crimson gourd records the word and seals the speaker. So that makes it so if you utter the word, or if you're too silent for too long, you get trapped inside, which makes it so it's effective on most shinobi. The fan conjures up all 5 chakra natures with an absurd potency. Even someone of 10/10's caliber could one-shot Kakazu's hearts that were giving a weaker version of Kakashi heavy amounts of trouble. The fan actually being stated the strongest of the ninja tools. I believe this is more so just an offensive presence, as the Amber Purifying Pot is more likely stronger in the sense due to how much more hacks it is, I would say, and what's actually possible with it. This might actually also be greater than the 8 tails itself too, as the Amber Purifying Pot is stated by Kurama to be able to seal away anything and everything, even noting that once you get put inside either of them, you can't get out no matter what you do. Kind of almost giving a narrative that he himself wouldn't be able to give out, which does extend who Ginkaku and Ginkaku would be able to affect with the weapon. And I want to make it clear too, they were wielding these weapons without the 9 tails chakra. That's how strong they were. And this is seen in the flashback to where they get eaten by the 9 tails. They're shown having the weapons in their hand. We do know that they did canonically use all 5 together at once, as the Raikage notes that we were just able to take this one from the Gold and Silver brothers. And even Ginkaku notes this, that that's our Amber Purification Jar. And the reason this matters is due to the lore surrounding the Six Paths ninja tools, and how those who exceptionally demonstrate their power surpass even the 5 Kage, with Ginkaku and Ginkaku then going on to stack the 9 tails chakra on top of these abilities, as the data book implies, with the ability to record the word of the individual and sever it and absorb them into the gourd. It's all hacks itself, but it's very clear that the Amber Purification Jar is a step above that due to how much easier it is, and now there's a lot less steps required. So we know that this databook entry isn't strictly hyperbole, and that these two duo, even like by their Edo Tensei nerf, are coming back in an even more nerfed state, not having their full arsenal. But next up, let's talk about the fight with Darui, as I feel like this is exactly where most people get the duo wrong in their performance in this fight. Now for starters, Darui, Samu, and Atsui all have lore on these ninja tools and do know their abilities, so they are coming in with a bit of an edge, which is significant, as imagine all of these ninja tools sealing an opponent's word, calling out to them, them speaking back, them getting sealed. All of this is more effective effective on somebody without prep, obviously. Having intel kind of defeats the purpose. But even with this in mind, the duo is actually able to steal the words from Samui and Atsui. And eventually Darui, one chapter after the fight, Darui can actually only be argued to have survived as long as he did due to the intel and using Samui and Atsui as almost guinea pigs to discover Ginkaku and Ginkaku's abilities. This can be seen with following the fact he was about to be sealed and he changed his word like mid-sealing, which is just... It's absurd that he did that. Like, his two most said words were relative in how much he said them. It's just like an odd way to write that in. But essentially, this fight was kind of over before it began until that scenario happened. So on top of those factors, a lot of people also point to Darui being weak. Now, Darui's actually pretty strong. He doesn't have any crazy anti-feats or anything like that. Let's talk about Darui for a sec. So we see in the Kage Summit that he is able to confidently repel Sasuke's blitz attempts with a combination of water and lightning style. This same Sasuke noted in a weaker form to be a speedster, threatening even the Akatsuki, with Darui just slapping him away casually. Darui also demonstrating impressive speed, keeping pace with the Raikage and lower forms of his cloak, defeating Suigetsu in one-on-one combat, and keeping pace with Gaara, Tamari, and Kankuro. Darui is also a company commander, which does require a substantial amount of strength, especially considering the other company commanders are Kakashi, Gaara, Mifune, and Kitsuchi, with all four showing really impressive feats throughout the war. So Darui isn't garbage in any capacity, nor does he have like those crazy anti-feats that would give him any semblance to him being weak. So we have an individual, right, who could keep pace with the Raikage and Kazekage in his movement and technique speed. How does he do against them in the fight? There's a couple common arguments you'll hear. A prominent one being that the duo gets quote-unquote blitzed by Darui's laser circuits, which I don't believe to be true in any capacity, as it's more so the precision of the ninjutsu that's noted to be an issue for them. This can be seen with Ginkaku holding Samui hostage, and he notes like the precision ninjutsu as it hits him. And by the way, side note, this jutsu actually does do no damage to him, so they do have a impressive amount of durability in this aspect. But it also hits Kinkaku in mid-air at a much closer distance, and interestingly enough, Kinkaku's actually able to block it with his fan. It's a bit less clear in the manga. We see him getting hit. The anime shows him blocking the technique with his fan. Maybe that's what he does to recover, so the technique wasn't even like powerful enough to damage him, and he's instantly able to adapt to it. Either way, it's more so like the precision of the ninjutsu that's noted to get the better end of them. And I mentioned their durability earlier, but Kinkaku's able to kick his Kokinjo arm instantly in midair after getting hit by the technique. So it's not as if this technique did any significant damage to them. Even if you were to argue, A, this would only be their base forms, and B, it wasn't actually enough to harm them. The only time where the laser circuits outright just blitz Ginkaku is when Darui has a mental amp of sorts, thinking back to the Raikage and how he can't fail due to how the Raikage sees him as his right-hand man, along with the responsibilities placed on him as a company commander. So this blatant example could also be argued around. Even when like Darui slashes Ginkaku or Ginkaku, it's never an outright blitz. Whether that's when he appears out of the water behind Ginkaku, or when Darui severs Ginkaku's arm while lunging at him, which again can be debated as their whole strategy fluctuates around recording the word of the opponent, which is required for the duo to squeeze out the spirit word of whoever it touches. So on top of Darui not being necessarily as weak as people claim, unless you want to make statements like Kage Summit Sasuke is weak or anything like that, this is also just base Ginkaku and Ginkaku. And I want to stress this enough because they are stacking all 5 ninja tools together with a version 2 cloak, which is just absolutely absurd. And actually, when discussing the Ninetales chakra as well, a lot of people discuss how it's only a small portion of the Ninetales chakra due to Kurama stating it's just fragments of his chakra. But even Obito notes that these fragments are not lacking in power. And we've seen what relative portions of the Ninetales power can do. For example, Six Tails Naruto against Pain, Four Tails Naruto against the Sannin, and so on. And the reason I say these can stack is that the databook entry for them explicitly states using this power and the Ninetales chakra, they inflicted heavy injuries onto the second Raikage and second Hokage. So everything I just listed is, maybe you think it's debatable or you think one way or another, only applies to base Ginkaku and Ginkaku. Once they go version 2, they keep all the same hacks and cognitive thought and just get stronger. They get enhanced durability due to the version 2 cloak. And the reason this is very impressive is basically, I talked about this in my tag team videos. I recommend you check that out because I'm not going to talk about it here just to repeat myself, but I do talk about how it's very implied throughout the anime, at least, of the series, that these pseudo Jinchuriki do be on par to a degree with the actual Jinchuriki at this state, or if not superior, as a lot of regular Jinchuriki, when they're not mastered with their tail beasts, do not have cognitive thought at the version 2 level. In which case, the duo is said to equal 1,000 shinobi, respectively, with their version 2 cloaks. Kinkaku actually taking no damage once he enters the version 2 cloak. Whether that be from Kitsuchi, the company commander, who just gets up from the attack, or the fact that he used to be jumped by the Ino Shikacho combo. And the combo itself doesn't defeat him. If it was not for the Amber Pot and, mind transferring, which was a good strategy. I'm not saying like it's not effective or whatever, but if that item was not in their possession, they really had no way to damage a Kinkaku at this point or seal him in any regard. The Ino Shikacho combo just barely working. There was very good timing on their part. I'm not knocking the feat. I just want to note that this was a very specific win condition and they had a lot of factors going in their favor. And speaking of the Amber Pot, the reason I kind of suggested that it was the strongest at the beginning and how strong it is because due to how it can seal the 8 tails, right? That is very significant because it kind of sets the status quo of who the duo can actually seal. That being anybody weaker than the full 8 tails itself, only requiring a word. So the fact that they're missing this piece specifically is just such a big deal that I can't stress enough. So it kind of messes with the whole set. And they essentially have to go the long route or long way to sealing their opponent rather than just having the pot. And this is, again, all in base form. So I'll put it like this, right? In base, they're either on par or greater. Your opinion doesn't really matter. I'm with a fighter who's on the level of version 1 Raikage or greater, depending on how you interpret Darui. They then don't have their complete weapon sets. You give them the Amber Pot, which is extremely hacks, and a version 2 cloak. So they're very incomplete at this point. This also can be argued around as a bit of a narrative element as well. And we see this when it's discussed that legends of the past are known to use lies or known to be hyperbolic in their strength, which could actually maybe be interpreted to say Ginkaku or Ginkaku's strength might have been exaggerated due to how absurd the statements are surrounding them. Along with the narrative of the fight being that, Ginkaku and Ginkaku talk about this, that they're worth gold and silver, and there's just too much bronze around them, that being the troops on the Shinobi Alliance. And Darui kind of remarks that once you scrap together enough bronze, you can have an amount greater to gold and silver. So it's more so a measure of quantity against quality, in the fact that they were eventually able to overwhelm the gold and silver brothers or be worth more by working together, which is a bit of a common theme throughout the work. You even see Naruto in the Shinobi Alliance against Madara, Obito, and the Ten Tails. That's another example of this. It even dates back to the core lesson of the series, that being teamwork above all else will let you achieve victory. We see this in the Kaguya fight, potentially against Madara, Naruto and Sasuke against anybody. Just teamwork in general can lead to defeating even the strongest of opponents. I know everybody memes teamwork, but it is a core aspect of the series that a lot of people just don't take into account. On top of this, the duo have the lore of just eating the Nine Tails chakra meat, which is absurd as they were just chilling in a crock pot known as the Nine Tails stomach for 2 weeks, just eating its walls. Pause. Essentially a feat that nobody in the Shinobi world had replicated before. Even eating the 8 Tails octopus never yielded such results. And it got to the point that these two were thought to be descendants of the Sage of Six Paths. Just due to this feat alone and how high their chakra reserves are, allowing them to use the Six Paths ninja tools. For a little perspective, Tencent takes one swing and Darui picks up the sword and uses it once, and immediately they know how drained their chakra becomes. So on top of having these monstrous reserves of chakra, they also have these hacks weapons. And the Raikage actually notes this when discussing on how to defeat them. There's just one way, that being to use their own weapon against them. So we have these fighters who are incomplete, can level themselves up and raise their durability and stats via their chakra volume, who have a company commander with complete intel and using his comrades to obtain intel on the duo, along with them being sealed by their own weapons. So it's pretty clear that these two just got super short the short end of the stick via their own intel and the weapons used against them.